Good evening, everyone. Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regular Meeting Agenda, Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018, here at City Hall. Please, as a courtesy to all, put your telephones on vibrate. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any items on this agenda are made available for the public inspection in the lobby of Taft City Hall. Would you mind, Mr. Miller, giving us the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, I would.
Thank you very much.
Scott
Awesome.
Pearson's here from First Baptist Church.
He certainly is.
I'll wait till you finish. Now.
I'll fall off the edge here. Would you please join me as we salute our nation's flag by placing your hand over your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight's invocation is from Mr. Peterson.
Okay, let's pray. Father, we thank you so much that you have loved us with an everlasting love. We are grateful for your mercy and your mercy, your grace that is evident in our lives and in our world. God, we thank you for our city and what a great place it is to live. Thank you for our city council members. We pray for your wisdom to be upon them this evening. And we pray for your wisdom to be upon our nation at this time as well. So we seem to have gone off the deep end. And we're thankful that we live here in Taft and not in Washington, D.C. Father, thank you for the elections that are coming up. We pray that, again, your will would be done. Here in Taft, we've got many great people running for office. Work through that process to bring the people onto the council that you want to be there. And Lord, thank you for the choices that we have. It's a free country. We enjoy it, and we bless you for it. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
I liked it. City Clerk, would you please give us the roll call?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Here.
Councilmember Bryant,
Here.
Councilmember Cryer,
Here.
and Councilmember Miller,
Here.
and Mayor Knorr is absent with notice.
Thank you. First up tonight, we have study session from Mark Staples on the economic development presentation by Retail Strategies.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hill. We're going to do our best to do this remote presentation as the gentlemen with Retail Strategies are based out of Birmingham, Alabama. As you recall, we've hired them on as a consultant to help us with pushing forward and getting better data in front of some of these retailers and restaurants that we've been meeting with the past couple years at ICS events and other cold calling and other communications we've had from them. So I'm going to try to make this happen here. We have Scott Von Cannon and Joe Strauss on the line, and they will run us through a presentation. I apologize for the kind of dark, muddied color. I've advised them of it, so they'll do their best to zoom in on featured areas as they show you different bits of data from what they've done for us. They're going to show us a website they've created for us where all these retail managers will be able to go to and pull all this demographic data that they put together for us. So, Scott and Joe, are you there?
We're here.
All right, so we're doing this. It's going to be loud. This mic is pretty sensitive, and I recommend that when you ask questions that you speak very clearly into the microphone and make sure it's right in front of your face, because the microphones pick up some of the subtle noises around here. So with that, I'll leave it to Scott and Joe.
Thank you, Mark. How's our volume from us speaking?
You're good. I'll adjust as things get loud or not. So.
Okay. We get loud and obnoxious, just cut us down. Thank you all this evening, one, for your patience, for allowing us to speak with you via webinar. I know we met most all the council members just a couple months ago when we were there in Taft conducting our boots on the ground tour of the market. We also gave a few presentations, also a brief one to the council while we were there. So We're glad to be with you once again. Today, we're really just going to highlight some products that we have created since last time that we have met with the council. Talk a little bit about conference representation, specifically the Western ICSE show, which will take place next week. And again, some additional products. So last time we met, we talked big picture about kind of who Retail Strategies is and the ins and outs of our process. We gave another webinar presentation just a few weeks ago to another group. I imagine many of you were probably in that meeting as well, where we really did get into the weeds as to some of the data reports that we run, how we interpret them, how retailers, developers, and brokers interpret them, and really what that means for us in Taft and what that means in the national retail landscape. So we won't get as detailed. I understand we're trying to keep this to maybe 15 to 25 minutes or so. Definitely want to keep room for questions. But again, just wanted to walk through more some products. We do have the recruitment plan presentation that we gave via webinar just a few weeks back. We need to reference that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Scott.
Okay, sorry. But we'll start with the marketing flyer. I think most council members probably have a printed version out in front of them. This is one of many marketing materials that we create on your behalf when we attend these shows. It is very to the point. When you go to these ICSE shows, I know Mark and I believe Craig have been to several. In some cases, especially at the Vegas show, you really only have a few minutes to tell the story of Taft. So it is intentional that there is only so much information on this technically 4-page brochure that is deliberate and trying to put together the information that is most relevant to retailers. So I'll just talk a little bit about this. It's probably a kind of more of a brochure, and what we're looking at on the screen is page 1 on the right side, really the front cover, and then the back cover, and then on the inside is an aerial of the retail landscape there at Taft. So we'll start with the front cover, obviously an image representing Taft that's near and dear to the locals there in the community. We have a demographic profile just below that, so I'm going to zoom into, and again, I understand that visuals are tough on your end, but you can see a demographic profile highlighting 6 very often used retail trade areas. We have 3 radius trade areas, 5, 10, and 15 mile. And then we have 3 drive time trade areas highlighted as well. A 10-minute, a 20-minute, and a 30-minute drive time. Obviously, due to the remoteness of Taft and proximity to larger markets like Bakersfield, it makes sense to go out 30 minutes or even 15 miles to sometimes identify a trade area. So you can kind of get an idea of our 2018 estimated population, looking at those figures, how that converts into a daytime population number, the median income levels. We have average figures, which are typically higher. Most retailers prefer to look at median, so that's why that's incorporated on this brochure, and then the number of households from each of those trade areas as well. So again, depending on the retailer or developer we're talking to, they have the ability to kind of view this trade area and from a different point of view. What Starbucks would be looking for is probably going to be much different than what a big box retailer would be looking for. They're looking at a larger trade area encompassing a larger area. Starbucks or a fast food user is really based on convenience, and they're more concerned about how many people live within, just a few miles of that site. So just laying that out there. South of that, Below that is just a map of the states that we are currently operating in across the country. I believe we're working in about 27 states throughout the nation. And then an aerial of Taft itself. You can see some major traffic corridors such as the interstate, surrounding communities like Bakersfield, and then you can see the actual drive time maps replicated in shades of orange and red there. So you can visually see what a 30-minute drive time trade area looks like. And you can see the emphasis is on the eastern side because of the mountain range there to the west. Daytime population is a strong and important number to some retailers, not as important to others. So we most certainly identify a rough number. And again, this is from a 10-minute drive time of the city center there in Taft. And then again, we have just generic demographics, average age, a phenomenal growth rate of 7.4%. I believe that's over the next 5 years through 2023. And then you can see we also have that average household income. So we also incorporate Mark and Craig's information so that anybody that gets a copy of this at the show, we email these brochures out as a very top level piece of information when communicating with retailers. And then typically we're drilling down beyond, much more beyond this into deeper data or specific site information. But as mentioned, Mark and Craig's information, contact information is incorporated on that front page as well, so they can contact the city. Peer trade areas, we talked about these in our last presentation. And what we're looking at is a stack up of cities in the region that demographically look very, very similar to Taft from a 10-minute drive time. So some of these cities are slightly smaller than Taft, some are a little bit bigger, but when you're looking at population, the daytime population looks like it's a bit bigger. Income levels, the market supply, they all stack up somewhat similarly. The reason we show this report is we can identify retailers. And again, this is just a snapshot of the actual report, so keep that in mind. But we can identify communities that look like Taft, at least on paper. And if we're talking to a retailer that has locations in these peer communities and is having second thoughts on whether or not they need to be in Taft, this is a great indicator of their potential success in this market. We also try to zone in on some specific categories. Within our prospect list, I want to say we probably have somewhere close to 65 to 70 retail prospects that we've identified and are proactively reaching out to that come from a variety of retail categories. But these three, looking at the data, looking at the real estate, as well as looking at growing retailers, restaurants, shoes and apparel, and sporting goods encompass three of our strongest categories and probably highest in demand within Taft. And again, on the inside of this brochure, and again, I'm assuming most have a copy in their hand, you can see the aerial landscape. An aerial of the retail landscape, identifying existing national retailers in the market, their locations, major traffic corridors such as current their traffic counts, major points of interest such as the Taft College and the county airport as well. So a lot of retailers can look at a map and get a feel for a community. Even better than they can looking at demographics. Really by seeing what other retailers are there. They want to know who, if any, of their competition is located in the market, where they're located, what clustering opportunities they have. And when we say clustering opportunities, most retailers want to be near the other national guys, and a lot of them actually prefer to be near their competition. So it's no coincidence we typically see a CVS and a Walgreens or a Rite Aid very close to one another. In a lot of cities, we'll see a McDonald's, Burger King, or a Wendy's all close to each other. That is by design. That is by intention. So again, this map allows them to, in 2 seconds, get a good feel for the market. So again, this is just one marketing piece that's used. Any questions on the marketing flyer itself?
Mr. Craig? Mr. Miller, you have any questions?
No.
None? I have none right now.
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And feel free to interrupt me with any questions if anything comes up. So that is our marketing guide. What we're looking at now is a website we created for the city of Taft. About a year ago, we are always looking to create additional services for our clients, create more value for our clients beyond data, creative pieces, and recruitment. So we conducted many interviews with retail site selectors, national retailers, basically the decision makers that are involved in identifying markets and sites for retailers. So we surveyed many national retailers on what their process is to find sites, to find markets, every step along the way, what that looks like, and frankly, what kind of obstacles and struggles that they come upon. And a very common theme that we came across in these interviews and surveys were that a lot of these site selectors struggled finding a uniform location to find information about communities in certain regions or countries that are all in one place. So for instance, we would have a real estate director from Chipotle, for instance, tell us that, well, Scott, sometimes I've got to go to Wikipedia to try to find the population. Other times I'll look at the city's website to try to learn more about, what I'm looking for. Sometimes I'll be digging into economic development site. So long story short, we learned that was a big heartache for these guys when looking in communities. So we responded, and we were in the midst of creating a national platform so that these decision makers and site selectors can find all the information, community by community, in the same place, and essentially just the information that they need to make an assumption about a community. So this is Taft's website that we have put together. And as you can see, it's retailstrategies.com/Taft. It's also going to have a link to another website we are creating called, what's our site? Our website. What's the size? Site Strategies, I'm sorry. Site Strategies is a link directly to this website that it's currently under construction as we speak. So we just got that URL, but you can see the homepage of this website. I hope you can see it at least. Can y'all see that okay? Do I need to zoom in a little bit?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So at the top of the page, we have live links. Let's see. We'll just click on these one by one. That would give us, if you're looking for contacts at the city, we have Mark's contact, my contact as well. Back to the home page, you can click on a live link to actual reports, and that'll take you down actually towards the bottom of the page. So you can open up demographic reports, that peer analysis report that we talked about, mobile tracking data, which is a report that identifies where consumers are going where they're going in Taft and where they came from to buy goods and services. A gap analysis, which is a report that identifies the dollars leaving Taft on an annual basis and actually breaks that down into certain retail categories. Trade area maps, that city flyer that we were just looking at. So again, additional links. As you can see also, you can click on marketing flyer and that'll take you directly back to, take you right here. So you can click on that flyer from the home page. Scrolling down, we identify obviously where Taft is on a map in proximity to larger markets, but this is interactive, so you can scroll into the market if you can see that. It is going to start off from an aerial view, giving some more information about the community. Let's see, sure. So once we click on Business in Taft, which is a live link on the homepage, it takes us directly to the city's website that has the business license form, other business applications and permits. A lot of you are obviously familiar with this website, so we have direct links to drive traffic to the City of Taft's website. And then again, I'll show you an example. If you were to click on, demographics, this is the live link to the demographics. So there's a few different slides here that keep it, try to keep it very aesthetic and friendly and easy, where it's not a heavy data report, but you can see some more information from those 6 trade areas that we talked about. Let's see, if I click on trade area, that's going to open up a customized trade area that we have identified through mobile data collection. So it outlines that report, what it means, how it's used, and then you can see there's about 11 slides here talk about really more of this customized trade area that we deem is Taft's true trade area. So again, you have some more information. This cuts up that trade area by race, by household size, by average household value, and so on. So a lot of data there, a lot of links from the home page. So that's all. On the left-hand side is more reports, links to reports we've created. On the right-hand side are links to you guys at the city, or information about the schools, a message from our contacts at the City of Taft, and so on. We scroll down the homepage, we have some more live links. You can request for property demographics, so the site selectors on this website, they can actually give us an address, and we can run a customized report for that individual, and that'll be emailed back to them. Links to the ordinances and codes for the city, inventory of property, schools, and so on. So just to give you guys a quick rundown of the website there, and I hope everyone can see that okay. So that was really just launched earlier this week. Still working on a few kinks from the website. Any questions on the website itself?
What's your name?
Scott, this is Josh Bryant with the City Council. You said that this website here is currently in development, right? It's not a finished product the way it's presented?
Yeah, we're wrapping it up, but it is not 100% complete.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No.
Yeah, if you guys have any recommendations regarding additional live links that you would like us to incorporate under the resources page, we are all ears. We want this to be, it is created to be uniform with other community pages. So there's only so much customization that we can make to the site while keeping it still relevant to sitestrategies.com. But again, if you have some ideas or some links that are other organizations in town you would like us to link this website to, please do not hesitate to let us know. So we'll talk briefly about the ICSC Western Show, which is next Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday is really the main day of the show. Wednesday is a short half day, but I believe a couple thousand people have already signed up for the show. It's obviously downtown LA. I know many of our partners from the City of Taft will be in attendance with the city's booth. So excited to share some time with Craig and Mark and our other contacts there. Joe and I've already set up multiple meetings with many retailers that will be in attendance of that show and representation of TAP. So we'll be looking at somewhat of a divide and conquer mentality as well as working together to make sure that we can cast as wide of a net as possible at this show. As you can see, last year over 4,000 attendees came. I think we're going to be close to that. I know there's more than
Hey, this is Joe Strauss. Yeah, as of today, as I checked, over 3,200 people have signed up. I believe there's about over 400 retailers that have signed up as well in that 3,200. This is a great show. These are where all the retailers, real estate directors who make the decisions for the state of California, they attend this. So we're getting in front of them, talking to many of the retailers. There'll be a retailer row, which is a big retailer central, with about 40 retailers attending at their booths. Me and Scott will be showing them specific sites in the market, matching their criteria, getting feedback. And then really a big part of the show is a lot of follow-up. A lot of times, at the show, we'll put TAP on the map for them, let them know, gauge their interest, show a couple sites, and then continue to follow up with them to get them over the finish line. And then not just with all the retailers, we set up a lot of meetings with a lot of big brokers, a lot of big tenant rep firms. These brokers usually represent 10 to 20 to 30 different retailers at a time. So we have meetings with some of these brokers. It'll be the equivalent of meeting with 10 to 15 retailers as well, since they're their clients. So it's a great show. We're excited. It's going to be a great turnout. And me and Scott will be dividing conquering.
Yeah, and to that, on the brokers and developers front, Colliers specifically has a pretty strong, the guys out of the Bakersfield office have a few listings in town, so that would be an example of more of a landlord leasing agent. Kevin Hale, for example, is one of their brokers that is representing the old Kmart box. So we've spoken with their group multiple times about strategies to backfill that space, strategies on certain retailers that would fit that space. And for example, we'll be sitting down with them at that show to talk about that box in particular. So as Joe said, very excited about the show. I think there's going to be a great turnout. We have all our marketing pieces ready to go, and look forward to working closely with our contacts there at TAP and show. So those were some of the three overarching things that we wanted to hit on. We do have our recruitment plan available. If there's anything, Mark, that you think we need to look at or talk about, or we can open it up for questions.
Let's just go ahead and open it up for questions or any curiosities about anything that was presented. Anything about the data on the flyer that's in front of you?
The flyer, I think, looks really nice. However, I'm hoping they spruce that up a little bit. It looks a little...
Well, the projector is making everything look dark. As you noticed, their retail strategies trademark green color has been muddied out into an orange color on this projector. And if you could see it in the background, the Oil Workers Monument is what's featured as the background image on the Taft Retail Strategies website. So I could see it from where I was sitting, but I wasn't sure if some could see it there.
Is this just copies? I mean, this is not what we're handing out.
That is what we're handing out.
The color seems a little weak on these, to me.
As far as...
I don't know.
Well, the key thing with it is making sure the colors of the trade areas, the 10, 20, 30-minute trade areas are gradiated in that same kind of orange-red color. So that's a focus there. And then everything on the back with the oversized graphics with the large key 6 data points or 7. from the population to income to growth rate, average age, things like that are the things that really pop out and highlight.
Is there a way we can change it where the first page is up normal, can you open it up and upside down to the next page?
It's how our printer was set here.
Okay.
I apologize for that. It actually is, if you put a portrait, it flipped it the right
So
way.
you made copies of their copy?
Correct.
Okay.
Everything's right side up, digitally.
Because it's also cut off.
Right.
I don't know what copies you guys have on hand. What we print off, and the colors are very good by design. We actually we created a new color scheme as a company a little over a year ago. So I don't know how they're probably not showing up very well on the screen. And for that, I apologize. But the marketing flyers we print off in size 11 by 17.
Yeah.
They're folded over to really show as 4 full pages, as really a 2-page brochure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
those
Scott,
are
it's
the
just our-
copies that we'll have on hand, and then in addition, we have additional marketing materials on specific sites that we will have in hand to talk to retailers about.
The only other question I would have on our demographics, I know we can pull business from Cuyama Valley area and Buttonwell area, and that's more than 15 miles away, but is there something we can add, like a little side note to it, that the population is actually be increased a little higher because of the...
Well, the thing is, they're just outside that 15-mile and 30-minute radius. It's actually, it looks like it's within the 30-minute, but outside the 15-mile. And also one of the other graphics that Scott showed briefly, which Scott, what do you call the? I guess you could call it the Big Brother cell tracker map.
Yeah, mobile data
The
collection.
mobile data, if you saw that, where there's a bunch of blue squares and orange squares, it shows the point A's and B's of where people are coming from and to when it comes to Taft. And you see here, all those dots on the bottom edge of that page is all the folks coming to and from Cuyama. And then you see the big blob of blue all over Bakersfield there of those of us going back and forth there. It's real generalized data that's tracked off of our phones, part of the service agreements we agree to with different apps and whatnot. It's just basic, start here, end here. It doesn't have any of your personal info. So you see how broad it is. It's working its way up the 5 towards Coalinga and Avenal and Hanford and all that. So that gets kind of beyond a reach, but this at least shows that diversity of people who are coming in and out and through Taft. So that map, the little bit of the orange color that does touch on where 33 and 166 intersect will also speak to the retailers. But it's most of the data does focus on that 10-mile or 10-minute and inward. But they see there's more beyond that with some of these graphics.
So, Mark, just to clarify, because I think there's some who don't really understand this. When folks like Retail Strategies or folks like you in the city of Taft are pitching businesses, hey, this is what we can serve. We don't look at just the lines of city limits. We're looking at a serviceable area, right? Folks who are 10, 15 miles, 10, 20, and 30 minutes around the city of Taft who are willing to come to Taft for those goods and services, correct?
Well, they don't help me out and say that's what they're looking for. But as we've learned over the years, sometimes they'll throw out, well, what's your 3-mile radius numbers?
Sure.
For a more urbanized area like Bakersfield. For us, we're having to show that easy drive time to and from the Taft area, and that's what will appeal to those retailers. So we've picked that up over the years, but we don't have the software that creates all that, and that's where Retail Strategies is helping
Absolutely.
to fill that gap.
Well, it's just nice to know that we are utilizing the greater metropolitan area as opposed to just the city limits
Right.
when we're asking folks to consider coming to Taft.
Helps
I think that's great.
quantify the pass-through traffic or the commuter traffic.
Absolutely. You know, I did notice they also included the vehicles per day counts along the highways, which I think is critical,
Yes.
especially when you look at upwards of 5,000 vehicles at any corner when it comes to entering and exiting the city. So I, for one, can appreciate this very, very much so, and I look forward to the fruitful nature of ICSC, the Western Region Conference, next week. How many meetings did you, Joe, you said you had multiple meetings set up for yourself and then the city staff, correct?
I'm sorry, we're hearing some interference. Can you repeat that?
I just wanted to add a point of clarity. You said that you already had a couple meetings booked between the city of Taft, yourself, other city representatives, and retailers considering the city of Taft, correct?
If I heard you correctly, yes, we already have meetings set for the show next week with retailers, and in some in regards to some retailers that have already indicated some general interest. Others, we're there to meet with them to figure out if they have interest in Taft.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Cool.
Mr. Miller? No.
And one of the big things is maintaining the contacts that we've made in prior years, because they do have some turnover with a lot of these companies. So that's the key thing in reconnecting each and every year at this conference. So, all right.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to give us that presentation tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much for your time and as well as patience regarding the webinar platform. I apologize that the colors aren't coming through as vivid as they should, but I guess that's part of working with technology. But we appreciate y'all's time tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Scott and Joe.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Staples. Next up, we have citizens' request, public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issues not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. First up, Sandra Downing to discuss the Taft Police Department.
Hello, Sandra Downey, City of Taft. I just wanted to, in a more public place, appreciate again our Taft Police Department. I think that as the regime has changed, I think a lot of people in Taft have appreciated officers on the street. They see response times. I've heard a lot of people talk about response times have come up. And I think morale in the city and people that we talk to, you know, even at our store every day, that they're appreciating more, that the police are being seen and they feel like they're doing a lot more to help the community. So on Facebook, you know, you see negatives and positives, but at our store, even when I talk to people all over, they're really happy with the changes that are being made and seeing officers out and being more interactive with the public. That's it.
Thank you very much. Next up, Kathy Orrin with the Chamber.
Well, good evening. It's, I have to tell you, Saturday was our tournament, our golf tournament. It was a truly beautiful Chamber of Commerce day. I have to tell you, we made a lot of friends of people that were there saying what gorgeous weather, and the golf course looked beautiful. So we had a very successful tournament. Our next big thing is our trout tournament coming up November 17th. So if you have not signed up for that, you need to do that. We have the registration things that are at the chamber, and we will send them to you if you can't come by. So that's the next thing, November 17th. But we have a whole slew of wonderful opportunities for things coming up. October 9th, Kevin McCarthy and Zach Scrivener are going to be in town. I understand I was told just recently that is probably going to be an invitation-only event. So if you get an invitation, you're a lucky person. October 11th is the Cougar Cook-Off at Taft College, and that's going on. If you're a veteran, you eat free, so you just need to let us know that you're coming. So that's coming soon. On October 13th, which is a Saturday, the Kiwanis Club will be hosting a car seat check with the California Highway Patrol. And if you qualify and you need one, you can get a car seat for your child. So that's happening at the parking lot between Lincoln School and the Taft City School District offices. On the 14th, Shannon Grove is going to be on the Rails to Trails. Shannon Grove is running for Senate, the California Senate, and she will be hosting kind of a picnic kind of thing with bounce houses for kids. It's a chance for her to get to know people on the west side, and that's on the Rails to Trails, Sunday, October 14th, around noon. I'm looking, I have my notes very disorganized, so I'm looking all over the place to make sure I get things in the right order. On the 20th, which is a Saturday, the Rotary Club of Taft is hosting a biscuit and gravy fundraiser, and it's a very unusual fundraiser in that you may raise money for your club or your group, and you get to keep the proceeds from that. But you have to check in with the Rotarians first. Let's see.
You have to sell tickets as well.
You have, oh yes, you have to sell tickets to
There
the
you go.
biscuits and
They're
gravy.
not
Did I
just-
forget that part?
Yeah, part of your being involved in that fundraiser is that to receive those funds, you need to sell tickets, and you get to keep the sale of the tickets.
So the Rotary Club would have you believe that they just give away money, but you do have to do something. That's true. On the, let's see, the 17th, no, I lied. The 27th, which is a Saturday, there will be breakfast with Vince Fong, who is our state assembly person, and that will be at the Rec. That's the 27th. I also want to remind you that the 29th is the trunk or treat at the Rec, and the 31st is the Spooktacular that's going on at the Albertson Shopping Center. So a lot of things going on. Tomorrow at the Sit and Sip at the Chamber, we will be hearing from the Rec and from the West Kern Adult Education Network. They're going to be letting us know the things that are going on there because it's a new season, so things change with those two groups. And the following day at the Fort, there will be a graduation ceremony for those who have graduated, getting certificates from the West Kern Adult School Education Network. And that's very exciting because that means new people in the workforce. And that's a wonderful thing. And the last thing is our candidate forum, which is happening on Wednesday, October 17th. It begins at 6, and it starts with the candidates for this august body, the council, city council for the city of Taft. And there will be 9 candidates running, 9 candidates who will be answering questions. It'll be followed by candidates for our county supervisor, then for our assembly, state assembly, for our state senate, and for our U.S. congressman, the seat currently held by Kevin McCarthy. So that will be a very interesting evening. It's always wonderful to be informed before you vote rather than after, and we give that service from the chamber for everyone. That's at 6 o'clock at OT, and we will start promptly at 6. So, thank you.
A question for you, Kathy. Now, on the 17th for the forum, we have to, it's invitation you said earlier?
The forum is not invitation only. It is my understanding that the Petroleum Club event that is actually Zach Scrivener's invitation to Kevin McCarthy to be on the west side that evening. It is my understanding that that will be by invitation. That was news to me today. So I'm just passing it over to you. It was a good source that told me that.
That's on the same night then?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That is on the 9th.
Okay.
That is a week from today. Thank you. Where am I? It's a week from today. And then the forum is on the 17th, and that's at OT. and that's open to the public.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Orn. Next up, council statements, non-action. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. I've been reading that the County of Kern is getting something like $2.3 million towards homeless issues in the County of Kern. Are we up for any portion of that at all? or-
They're collaborative. They haven't.
They say it's countywide, but
Yeah, but it's for the
are we just
Kern
talking about
County. It's
Bakersfield or?
collaborative. I don't know.
So, I would hope maybe for our new committee getting involved here that they might look into that. I was just curious. I'll also notice that for those who are running for city council, they're putting signs on the rails to trails. And I would like to ask you not to do that. That is city property, and, city can't be involved in those kinds of issues. So if you do have signs on city property, which includes the rails to trails, we'd appreciate if you'd kindly remove those. I've been reading in some social media that we keep getting not hammered, but we keep getting discussions about whether we need another dollar store in Taft. Yes, we do. That is a start. That gets other businesses that are looking at Taft, when they see a Dollar General being placed in Taft, maybe that would give them incentive to come and establish a retail store in Taft. Also, the other thing is when we're having social media discussions and we have people that are saying we don't need this and we don't need that, they have research firms that look into those kind of issues, and if they see where a community is not supportive, they may not come. And if we have, say, Dollar General has made a commitment to come to Taft, and if they find that they don't come, what's that say about us? And then what's that going to say to other businesses that franchises that would maybe want to come to Taft if we're not business friendly, if we're not wanting those kinds of businesses? It hurts. And so we have to be careful with our comments. It's not private. Once you put it out on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, Instagram or whatever you're using, it's out there for everybody to see. So just think before you post something. That's all I ask. That's pretty much what I had. Sorry I've not made the last two meetings, or one meeting in August and one meeting in September, but I decided to take a vacation, and I need a vacation every once in a while, so it just happened to pop up on the council night. So the city didn't fall apart when I was gone, so I guess I wasn't missed. So anyway, thank you, Pro Tem. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hill. I heard that the new word for the homeless people, to be completely correct, they call them free-range citizens now. That's what I heard. So I think our homeless problem's been solved because of that. Anyway, I'd like to thank Dr. Kathy Orn for the fine presentation, what's happening in Taft. There's so many things going on, and like I've said many times before, that there's always something to do here in Taft. Keep you busy, keep you for all different ages and different circles. And I had a hard time even going to half of them, what's going on, and some interest me a whole lot, and there's always conflict, but there's lots going on here. And the campaign season is going full string, I tell you that. I hear things, see things, people calling you up, wanting support, endorsements, and this and that, and there's a lot of happenings going on, and I'd like for everybody to make informed decisions. Check each person out, see what they contributed to our city, what have they done, what organizations they belong to, and what they've done to make Taft a good place and stuff, and go by their merit, and because it's a lot more to it than sitting up here on a die here. You got to make big decisions that where we make here on a die, it influences our whole city. And each one of us represent a percentage, and we all a lot of times people think it's an easy job, but it's not. There's a lot of research going into it. There's a lot of meetings to go to. It's not just here in Taft, but you have to go outside the city or outside the county. That goes on to make informed decisions that goes on here in the city. And I do give my compliments to the people who are running. It's a interesting experience, and you guys learn from it. There's always a next time on there, and I just wish everybody the best of luck. But we do need a new barber shop. I went through 2 barbers, and one retired, and I'm having a hard time finding a barber. If anybody out there knows a good place for me to go to, now I value my hair. I don't have much left. I value it highly, but I could use a good trim and a good place to go. So any recommendations, let me know. I'm all out there for it. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Cryer. Mr. Bryant?
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I do want to add just one more comment to add on to Councilmember Miller. One thing people need to realize is it's not just the city saying, hey, we're open for business. It's these businesses choosing the city of Taft and the area that we serve. It's not us always sitting out there saying, we got to have this type of store or this type of store. Of course, we're open to 99% of businesses out there, but these people choose us. And for those folks, I'm very, very thankful, because those folks are bringing potential sales tax revenue. They're bringing jobs. They're bringing development of private property, which increases property tax, which ultimately rolls back to the city. So on many different levels, they're benefiting each and every one of us. People who own businesses, people who own homes, and people who just live here. So I'm very thankful to those folks, and I look forward to many, many more coming about as a result of the ICSC conference, with a couple meetings scheduled. It's nice to know we've got some of those things already going, as opposed to just going down there and trying to get those meetings. So it's a fantastic step in the right direction. And just as a side note, make sure that Joe and Scott, a 24-month clock is ticking. All right, kind of kidding. The other thing I wanted to add to Dr. Oren, you mentioned the Cougar Cookout again. That's this coming Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. kickoff. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Thursday. I'm sorry. Veterans do eat free, so I'm really glad you did that. But if you're a Cougar alum, it's only $20. Come on out, enjoy some times as we celebrate the Community Spirit Award. It's Don Zumbro and his spouse are being honored. Of course, we're going to honor our veterans, raise a little bit of money for veterans, honor flight, things like that, and just celebrate our Cougar pride. So that's all I have, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. I want to comment on an article that was written in one of the papers locally this last couple of weeks. It talked about taking the politics out of homelessness. Well, actually, we can't take the politics out of anything these days. We have to be politically correct in what we say, what we wear, who we offend, what we're doing. We have a state that is very liberal, and it doesn't like most of what we do in this particular town. And everything has become very political. Homelessness, on the other hand, is extremely political. After all, it's politics that got most of these people here to begin with. If you think about the fact that we have AB this and Proposition that, we have limited everything our police officers can do. We have people who can, petty crime is $950. Most people would love to make $950 a day. We have people that should be in mental facilities that we're letting them have their own capacity to get them there, yet they have no capacity, so they're not going to get there. So our streets are filled with drug addicts who, the worst thing we can do with them is take their drugs away. We have people who are vagrants, that are criminals that should be in prisons, but we don't want to put people in prisons. We want to let them loose. So it's politics that has gotten us to the state we're in, and hopefully some of the politics that we have in this city will help get us out of that. So that is my rant. So I just want to express the fact that both Mr. Bryant and myself are two people who are very interested in taking care of some of the problems there. We know it's not a one solution situation. We know that we're going to have to work very hard to maybe make a difference in one person's life. But I think both of us are very willing to make that commitment. So that is my rant for the evening. Next up is department reports. Do we have any? We have the chief.
Good afternoon, Pro Temp Mayor Hill, Councilman. and distinguished guests. Damon McMahon, of course, I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Taft. I just want to give you an update on some of our patrol statistics for the month of September. And just to let you know, we had total incidents, meaning calls for service and incidents where patrol officers arrived or went to a location. We had 972 this month. Calls for service, meaning actually somebody called in and requested service. We had 435. Officer-initiated incidents, actually more than the calls for service, 537. So they're out doing their job. They're basically contacting people out on the streets and making stops, traffic stops. Those are all calculated in that area. Basically, traffic stops, 43. If you added all these numbers, you're going to get to the 972. 494 other additional incidents, 92 PED checks, meaning persons walking on bikes or whatever the case may be, stops and contacts. Total officer reports were 175. Let's go down to arrests. We had a total of misdemeanor and felony arrests in the month of 82. So they are out. They are out.
Is that misdemeanor? Does that mean they go to jail, or is that a cite?
Well, some misdemeanors are citable. So not all of them are going down. Now the felonies all go to jail, of course, which I'll get down to. The felony arrests were 17, so every one of those absolutely went. Majority of the 65 do go, but when you get an arrest for, and unfortunately for narcotics or a misdemeanor arrest, it's a cite and release usually. We would love to take them, but
that's included in our.
That's included. You got to understand that. Of course, we've covered this. That county won't take those arrests. I mean, if you hook somebody for being under the influence, we call it 11-550. They basically just, if we ship them, they won't even transport them. If we were to transport them, they'll turn around and sign them out and release them. And they work their way back. It's just the day and age we live in. Moving vehicle violations, we had 2. And parking violations, we had 2 where it was towed. Vehicles were towed. That is on the increase per me. I believe traffic citations and stops. Not everybody has to get a ticket, but you do need stops. You do need to have people that are aware of being on the cell phone while they're driving, making full stops, running red lights, speeding down the roadway. Of course, that's, but that's not the fun stuff. Fun stuff is contacting the subjects that are out burging and doing the things that cops love doing. But we know this is a big part of patrol, and it's something that has to be taken care of. So we're dealing with that too. Give you an update on our virtual MET, which is the virtual medical. Let me get right to it for you real quick. What VMET even stands for, and basically it's our mobile evaluation team, and it's a virtual mobile evaluation team. I spoke to you guys about it earlier. I believe it was last month, regarding computers where we can have interface action with a technician or a healthcare provider to give help. We actually have 2 assigned to us through that, through the behavioral center, and we are now implementing that. Our guys have been to training and are starting to go get everybody trained. And once we get that occurred, or once that occurs where we have everybody trained, then we'll start issuing the computers, and they will be out on the streets. So that's one of the steps we're taking towards our homeless issue and people that have actual mental health that need to issue or need the services that we don't actually have here in Taft. That's it.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Chief. Thank you.
Next up, our city clerk.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
It's a mouthful.
It is. I'd just like to give you guys an update. We were given direction to prepare a resolution in support of the oil industry, and we have been working diligently on that. In order to get the best crafted resolution that Councilmember Cryer can share and can take places that will best represent not just Taft, but the oil industry and what it means to us. We are working diligently on it, but it takes time to craft a really good resolution, so we weren't able to have it on your agenda tonight.
Better to have it right than wrong.
And that's what we're doing. Hopefully next agenda it will be there, but it won't be there until we have what we think best represents the direction you've given us.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Next up, city manager statement.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On tonight's agenda is the project, the Kern Street Hazard Elimination Grant that we applied for a few years ago, God, 3-4 years ago. It's finally coming to fruition. And the project includes 18 LED crossing lights, or not lights, but they're actually pedestrian signs. So you hit the button and they'll flash on the side of the road. They're not the in-pavement lights. For the uncontrolled intersections that have proved to have pedestrian accidents through the years.
So
And-
the pedestrian has to push the button as they're going across the street, and
I
then the
believe
lights
so,
will go
yes,
on?
and the lights light up, alerting motorists that there's somebody crossing in those uncontrolled intersections like 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, those areas that we've had accidents. Part of the original plan was to upgrade the overhead Cobra lights with LEDs, but PG&E stepped in, so we were able to reprogram some funding towards more LED type warning signs like those were explained, and the pavement markers.
Are we partnering with Caltrans on this too? or-
Well, Caltrans has given us permission to put those in there right away
Oh,
as
okay.
we maintain them.
As
So
long as we're-
we're on the hook to own them, maintain them, and all that.
Okay, so they've signed off on it then.
They've signed off on it.
Big hurdle.
It's been, that just, things move very slowly, but this is a 100% grant, no match on the city's part, so it's nice, and I know
Now
that
we have to
Councilman
train.
Waldrop brought this up years ago when he was on the council about the lights, and the wheels turn slow, but we're finally getting that stuff done.
Now we
so.
have to train the pedestrians to push the button.
Well, I might ask a question. I don't know if it's appropriate. If I can ask some elaboration. When it comes to the grant, I do recall we got some money regarding safety improvements along Current Street, but it required a significant match. This is a separate grant?
I'm not aware of a match.
I thought we had some safety improvements when it comes to active signage, when it comes to speed feedback, things like that. Or is it a separate project I'm thinking of?
Probably a separate project.
Okay, thank you.
On this project, it's very hard for this to score high on this. You actually have to have accident data, bad accidents, and we've actually had some bad pedestrian
Sure.
accidents. So part of the
Good.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Mr. Waldrop.
Yes, thank you. Next up, city attorney statements.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. You'll be surprised that I have no statement to make this evening.
Surprise.
Thank you.
Next up, future agenda request. Do we have any?
I have none.
Nothing here, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, the consent calendar, items 8 through 13. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any items removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. Number 8, minutes of the September 18th regular meeting. Recommendation is to approve as submitted. Number 9, payment of bills, roughly $300,000. Number 10 is travel to Nevada for the annual RIMS conference for 2 police department personnel. Recommendation, motion to approve out-of-state travel for Chris Carpenter and Pete Aranda to the annual RIMS conference in State Line, Nevada for the week of October 15th to October 19th, 2018. Number 11, accept the lowest responsible bid and award the Kern Street Safety Improvements Project, HSIPL 5193040, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract on behalf of the city. Recommendation is a motion to accept the lowest responsible bid, award the project, approve the construction agreement with Lee Wilson Electrical Company for the Kern Street Safety Improvements Project, and authorize the mayor to execute any said agreement and approve the local match out of capital reserves. This is the one where we don't have capital reserves, correct?
Well, there is no match yet.
Correct. Number 12, Taft MCCF medical staff to attend the 2018 National Conference on Correctional Health Care in Las Vegas, Nevada on October 20th through October 24th, 2018. Recommendation, a motion to approve travel for 2 employees to attend the 2018 National Conference on Correctional Health Care Training in Las Vegas, Nevada from October 20th to 24th. Number 13, accept the donation of properties located at 308 and 312 Main Street and authorize the signing of the documents. Recommendation, a motion to accept donation of properties located at 308 and 312 Main Street, Taft, California, and adopt the resolution entitled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft accepting the donation of property located at 308 Main Street, Taft, California, authorizing the mayor, city manager, and/or assistant city manager to execute the agreement and all escrow and other documents necessary to complete transfer of real property, and making certain findings in connection therewith. Number 2, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft accepting the donation of property located at 312 Main Street, Taft, California, authorizing the mayor, city manager, and/or assistant manager to execute the agreement of all escrow and other documents necessary to complete transfer of real property and making certain findings in connection therewith. Does anybody on the council wish to remove anything from the consent calendar?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we have a roll call, please.
Need a motion in a second.
We have
I'm
to
sorry, I
have
need a motion. Excuse me, I need a motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
Perfect, we have a motion and a second.
I didn't get the second.
They just tied.
Orchel.
No.
Give it to Orchel.
We got seconded.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember
Whoa,
Cryer?
whoa, whoa, whoa. I have to abstain from item number 8, minutes of the 18th regular meeting, as I was not here. Sorry.
So noted.
We were just discussing.
Yeah, you usually catch me on that.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes, and that passes on a 4-0 vote. Next up, we have a special event permit, number 2018-12, an encroachment permit for the Taft Union High School class of 2008 class reunion on Saturday, October 6, 2018. Closures of the 5th Street from North Street to the Center Street Alley from 4 p.m. to midnight. Recommendation, consider waiving $202 total fees for this special event. A motion to approve the resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving special event permit number 2018-12, an encroachment permit authorizing the Taft Union High School of 2008 class reunion by Kelsey Birch on Saturday, October 6, 2018 at 431 North Street, a closure of the 5th Street from North Street to the Center Street Alley from 4 p.m. to midnight." Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
There's a correction on the staff report. The total amount of fees that the council will be considering waiving is $562.
A little bit of difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just the public works side, the original 202.
Can I get a motion with a correction then, please?
Motion.
Second.
Do you have a second?
Yes, I second.
Okay. We need a roll call on that?
Well, can we have discussion? now?
Discussion? I'm sorry. Mr. Miller?
Well, I was waiving $202 in fees versus $562, but my question is, why are we waiving fees? Just because they requested it, or is there a-
Well, there was a request by the applicant for this council to consider, but of course, you have to make a public interest finding that there's a reason why the city council would do such.
Is that something we normally do on that particular type of thing? I mean, I know we do it for charity
We have in
things.
the past for nonprofits.
but this is not a
Stuff.
nonprofit.
Correct.
I have a class reunion coming up myself, but we're a little older. We don't have the close down street party. Ours is a little more
They close the.
subdued. I have real concern about this, waiving a fee for an event that is not a nonprofit. I mean, I'm supportive of their having their class reunion and bringing folks back in, and if the council or the city staff feel that waiving the fee is versus hopefully the impact of sales tax and transit fees at the local motels and stuff is worth the waive, then, you know, I'm for that.
Well, events, there is a benefit during events. I don't know what that amount would be. Council could consider a partial waiver of fees, maybe everything except the staff time, because that's actually what the city's going to be out, because they're going to pay employees to set up and take down those barricades. Everything else would be staff time here, processing the permit and stuff like that.
That's actual costs?
Actual cost would be pretty much that original amount that was in the.
So Public Works they're paying additionally?
We will have to pay Public Works to go out and put the barricades out, Jay.
Well,
Of course, that's on a Sunday, and guess what? That's overtime. and-
That's what it's figured out at overtime. So that was the original amount, the 200.
so with overtime, it's $562?
No, that's all the other fees, especially event permit fee, included with the encroachment permit and all total.
I don't have really an issue at all with the class reunion, ways some of the fees and stuff, because, one, they made it through the 4 years, and they coming back, from years being away and everything, and coming back here, from them moved away. And hopefully, they'll spend a lot of money here from people who moved away, coming back from where they're living, and some of them, plus maybe they might like it here and come back, but if we just have them, if worst case, if we just have them pay the actual cost, and if they can move the barricades off to the side and pick up on Monday, or if they can pick up the same day on Sunday.
Well, generally, we don't, those barricades are supposed to be picked up and removed by people that are trained to do so. You can't have just anybody out doing traffic control.
Have we waived fees for reunions like this before?
Not that I'm aware of. We've waived park fees and stuff like that.
So you're saying that
$202
$202 would be the cost for Public Works overtime?
I believe, the $202 would be the overtime plus the encroachment permit, which includes staff planning and stuff.
Mr. Bryant?
Well, I would make a recommendation that we not waive overtime costs. I don't see where we need to do that, and we're not putting on a party for these folks. They are, and we're making it convenient for them, so I would recommend that if it's the $202, I would recommend that we not waive that portion of it and waive the other $360 of fees.
I would second that motion.
Mr. Bryant, your thoughts?
Yeah,
He hasn't made a comment yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we got,
Yeah,
I know you can't do that, but
We got the original motion now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
amended.
the original on the table.
You can make
Okay.
a so-called friendly amendment if Mr. Brown
Yeah.
accepts that.
Your
So-
thoughts?
At the end of the day, I understand totally where Councilmember Miller is coming from. If we're going to pay overtime, then we need to expect folks to actually pay that overtime. I think it's very sufficient to ultimately waive the permit fees. That's totally fine, but I totally agree with what Councilmember Miller said, and I think that's reasonable to expect folks to pay overtime fees.
Okay, so how would you like us to reword this?
Are you withdrawing your motion then?
I did have the original motion, so I would like to make the amended motion in accordance or in concurrence, whatever it might be, with what Councilmember Miller had stated.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second?
Okay, so our amended motion is going to be to waive the encroachment permit, but we are going to.
Waive all the planning.
Waive all the
Special-
planning, so we're just
special
going
event.
to,
You're going with the $202 in staff time and encroachment permit fee, $40, which it equals the 202.
I'm still confused on that one. Which one is the fee for the overtime for our public
The
works? guy?
$202.
$202, okay, that is.
So it's
Okay.
$360 worth of time that we're expecting to be paid.
Okay, so you're good with that?
Yep.
You good with that?
I'm sorry, but this is not going to break their bank, so.
No, I mean,
It's just
my
part of
thought on this
putting
is
a party
that
on.
class reunions tend to make money. They tend to charge money, and I absolutely don't think that our public works should, not be paid for. My concern is if we make, and this is why I'm asking, how often do we take and not charge the encroachment fee on a class reunion if they're going to do an event like this?
I don't know the answer. I don't know that we ever have. On a
And
class
if we do
reunion.
this, will we be doing this often? Is this a precedent we want to, that's my concern. Is this a precedent that we want to uphold?
One event at a time. Get them up before us. Make a decision.
I'm sorry, before we go further, can we state, thank you. Can we state, can you clarify for our benefit exactly how much will be charged? Maybe we can phrase it that way.
So $202 will be charged, and $360 will be waived, correct?
No.
For the motion, yes.
Per the motion.
So it's a motion to approve a resolution entitled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving special event permit number 2018-12, an encroachment permit authorizing the TUHS class of 2008 class reunion by Kelsey Birch on Saturday, October 6th, 2018 at 431 North Street, a closure of 5th Street from North Street to the Center Street alley from 4 p.m. to midnight with a waiver of fees except for $202. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that motion was made by Councilmember Bryant and seconded by Councilmember Miller.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now a roll call.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes, and that passes on a 4-0 vote. At this time, we will be going into closed session with a conference with real property negotiator Craig Jones and the city manager. Government Code Sections 54956.8-AP and 032-040-35-4. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
No
I don't
second?
think we're adjourning, are we?
Okay, we are in closed session.
Recess and closed session.
Yeah, we're going to close session.